All right, that's what it looks like when it's in our uh, titration burette holder. You can see I'm just going to get it up high enough so you can see the top of the burette there. So we're going to fill that with acetic acid, and then we're going to note the volume up on top. So let me go ahead and do that. Okay, so I have filled my burette. I don't know if I can hold it steady enough for you to see, but I filled it so that it goes all the way up to that 0 mark. And now whenever we drain the acid out, we'll just make a note of how many milliliters we drained out. And I'm sorry about the squabbly and wobbly picture here. All right. I know that I'm kind of half in the picture, but mostly I just want to show you what you are really pretty familiar with. I'm going to draw up 3 mils of ammonia solution. The way I'm going to do that is to draw it up to where it's more than 3 mils. And keep in mind that if you're reading this from the bottom, I need a volume of down to that 2 mil mark on here. And you can see that that would give, oops, there we go. I'm going to need a volume of the 2 mil mark. And so that gives me a total of 3 mils left in the burette. And add it to my burette. You see there's not a whole lot of volume there. I can't see that. My phone is wanting to not cooperate. There we go. There's not a whole lot of volume in there. And so we're going to add approximately 20 mils of water to it, deionized water. And it doesn't have to be anywhere exact. All it has to do is just give us some volume so that when it spins, it doesn't make a frothy solution. So I'm going to set this down on my stir plate, turn that so you can see the stir plate, and get this so you can see everything. There we go. Just going to give you a better look at it. And here's some deionized water that I'm going to add to it. And I'm just wanting to increase the volume so that whenever I stir it, it doesn't get foamy on me. And I'm going to add a stir bar to it. And the last thing I'm going to put in there is some phenolphthalein. Phenolphthalein is it's a solution that indicates that something is a base. And as soon as I add it to this, my ammonia solution should turn pink. And it will go clear when I have added just enough vinegar to neutralize it. So we'll see if it does. It's pink for me. Put a couple of drops in there. There you go. Looks nice and pink on me, which is just what I want. And now I'm going to turn my stir plate on. Give it a little bit of there we go. Now we have a little gentle stirring action. And what I'm going to do now is add our vinegar until that just goes clear. So you can watch it as I add the vinegar. Nothing really seems to happen early on, but you can see it gets a little bit lighter. And I'm going to keep adding. And now I'm just going to add a tiny bit at a time, drop by drop. You can see it's still a little bit pink. And whenever that pink disappears completely, I'm gonna say that I've reached the end point of my titration. Now there's just kind of still a little hint of pink in there, I think. But we're just going to call this an approximate one to start with. And then I'm going to look at my stir plate off. I'm going to look at my burette volume, and I'm going to see how many milliliters that I added to my ammonia solution. Let's break this up here. Not sure whether we're going to be able to read it very well, but you can see it's with the camera. It's someplace between 2.5 and not quite 3 mils that we added. So I'm going to have to get my eye on it, looking a whole lot more level with it than that, but I'll give my best assessment after I've done that. But anyway, that's how much I added to it. So when I take it off and get level with it, that looks like that's about 2.6 milliliters of vinegar that I added to those 3 milliliters of ammonia solution. Okay, now we're going to keep working through this. So we titrated it by added the drop of phenolphthalein indicator, and while stirring, we slowly added the acetic acid. And we didn't add it via a 5 ml pipette. We used this titration burette. All right, so in this practice calculation that I did, I said that it took 3.8 mils to accomplish that. Let's see if I can get, there we go. Yeah. Okay, let's try this again. My camera keeps going off. So initially, in the practice calculations, I said there was 3.8 mils, but really when I just did this, I came up with 2.6 mils. So I'm going to put 2.6 mils in there. And there are I want to know what my molarity is. And so I've got to convert that 2.6 mils into liters. And the way I do that is I say that there are 1,000 mils per 1 liter, and that gets me my volume of my the amount I dropped in. And then remember that our molarity of that solution was 0.87 moles. So now I'm going to calculate the number of moles of vinegar that were in the 2.6 mils that I added to my ammonia solution. So to do that, I'll take 2.6, divide that by 1,000, multiply that by 0.87, and that's going to give me, I'm going to have to recalculate that. So let me do that, and we'll look and see what this number is. Let's see here. Let me. All right, take 2 from step 4 on. Okay, so now that we have determined that there were 2.6 milliliters of acetic acid that I needed to add to neutralize our ammonia, and we could tell because we reached the endpoint at that place, I'm going to take those 2.6 milliliters and determine how many moles of acetic acid were in that. And the way we do that is we calculated that the molarity of our acetic acid was 0.87 moles. Just real quick to look at that again. The way we figured that out was through, we said we had a 5% solution, which means there are 5 grams of vinegar in 100 grams of acetic acid solution, and the density was 1.05 grams of that solution for every 1 mil of the solution. And I want to know how many moles of acetic acid are in there. I know that there are 60.5 grams per 1 mole, and so my, let's see what will cancel out here. I'll show you this. So whenever I take the 5 grams, I can then say that if I had 5 grams of it, there are 60.05 grams per 1 mole. So now my grams of vinegar will cancel out. And then I need to determine, I need to move it into liters.